My best friend asked if I would be her sperm donor for her surrogate, and I am in love with her, but she has no idea. So for a bit of background, we met in college and have been best friends since then. We hooked up once years ago. It was a drunken exchange, and I honestly chalked it up to we were both drunk and in the right place. She got ovarian cancer that was at stage 3 a few years back and survived and has been in remission. However, she had to do a complete hysterectomy. She had mentioned a year ago that she was considering surrogacy. She had told me she planned to use a donor, as she has been single for a while. The thing is, I am in love with her, and I have been for years, but she has no idea. I know at one point she had feelings for me, but I was seeing someone then, and out of respect for my girlfriend at the time, she never acted on it. I feel like before I give her an answer, which will be yes, I should tell her how I feel. I want to make her dream of motherhood come true, and I'm honestly touched she thinks so highly of me and she wants me to be the father. Regardless of how she feels, I will still donate, and if she doesn't feel the same way, I will still love her as my best friend.
I'm an asshole for telling my son's girlfriend I'll never consider her kid my first grandchild. I have 2 kids. Let's call them Jason and Grant. Jason has a girlfriend, Kelly, and they've been together on and off for the last couple years. Jason tends to change girlfriends like he changes underwear, and this one has been quite a ride and a lot of drama. He also cannot stand not to be the center of attention. I am not for the relationship, especially since Kelly has a 10-year-old son that has been dragged through this. But my son is an adult and he can make his own choices. My other son, Grant, and his fiance, who I recently visited, told me that I was going to be a grandma. I adore Tori and Grant, and they're great together, and I'm so excited. Come Thanksgiving dinner, she's about 5 months pregnant, and Jason brought Kelly along since they got back together. We started talking about baby showers and stuff like that, and I made the comment about wanting to go all out since this is my first grandchild. Kelly jumped in and mentioned her kid will always be my first grandchild, and I told her no, that'll always be your child. And if my son decides on you, I will see him as my grandchild, but not my first. She threw a fit and said how they should be accepted into the family. I told them to get back to me after they get married.
My mother was a hoe and it almost cost me my life. Every month my mom had a new boyfriend, and every week she was going on dates with different guys. Now, I think anyone who is single has the right to do whatever they want, but she was actually doing these people. I started to be a little concerned for her health because I wasn't sure if she was being safe or not. So without getting too much into her business, I definitely asked her, "Are you sure you're being safe with these people?" Mind your business, little girl. Yeah, that was her response. She did not care. So fast forward time later, she's finally taking one of her hoes seriously and moves him into our house. So after adjusting to him living there, I noticed something was a little weird when my mom kissed me before she went to sleep. It felt a little lumpy. So I woke up extra early one morning to watch her putting on her makeup, and I saw bumps all around her mouth. I didn't know how to ask without sounding rude and invasive, so I checked out her boyfriend and he had the same bumps on his mouth as well. Realizing I've been eating...
Who would have thought that a hug could save a life? On October 2018, Hannah was 25 weeks pregnant when she went into labor and gave birth to her twin boys 15 weeks early. Since the twins were extremely premature, they had to stay in the hospital for weeks to be monitored, and Dylan began getting better, but his brother Daniel was not. Dylan was eventually able to be taken off the ventilator and was able to go home, but his brother was still in critical condition and they thought that he wasn't going to make it. When the twins were 14 weeks old, Dylan was taken back to the hospital to say goodbye to his brother, so the nurses put them together in the incubator, and that's when things took an unexpected turn. After spending 5 minutes together, Daniel's condition suddenly stabilized, but the next day it began deteriorating again, so the nurses suggested bringing back Dylan to spend more time with his brother. And once again, Daniel's condition stabilized and he was taken off the ventilator. Daniel eventually survived, and doctors called this a miracle, but were confused and could not explain it.
Am I the asshole for telling my wife that the lock on my daughter's door does not get removed until my brother-in-law and his daughters are moved out of our house? My brother-in-law, Sammy, lost his home shortly after his divorce 10 months ago. He moved in with us and brought his 2 twin daughters, Olivia and Sloane, both 18, with him a couple months ago. His sister, aka my wife, and I have one daughter, Zoe, who's 16. She and her cousins aren't close, but they get along fine. Olivia and Sloane have no respect for Zoe's privacy. None. They used to walk into her room and take everything that they could get their hands on. Makeup, phone accessories, clothes, school laptop, etc. Zoe complained a lot, and I've already asked the girls to respect her privacy and stop taking things. My wife and Sammy saw no issue, and after all, they're girls, and this is typical teenage behavior. The last straw was when Zoe bought a $60 MAC makeup kit, saved up for over a month for it, and one of the girls, Sloane, took it without permission and ruined it by mixing shades together. I don't know much about makeup, but that's what Zoe said when she found the kit on her bed and was crying. I told my wife that she'd asked Sloane to apologize, but I got Zoe a lock after I found that she was moving valuable belongings out of the house because of this. Sammy and his daughters saw the lock and they weren't happy. The girls were extremely upset. Sammy asked about it and I straight up told him. He said that his daughters aren't thieves and it's normal that girls the same age borrow each other's stuff. He said Zoe could easily get another makeup kit for $15 from Walmart and shouldn't even be buying expensive adult makeup in the first place. He suggested my wife take care of this defect in Zoe's personality, trying to appear older than she is, and then accused me of being overprotective and babying Zoe. I told him this is between me and my wife, but he shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door for her cousins to see and preventing them from spending time with her, saying that I was supposed to treat them like daughters. He then demanded I remove it, but I said that this lock does not get removed until him and his daughters are out of our house.
Am I the asshole? I didn't want to wait for my wife to get dressed. So my wife and I have been married for a year. She usually takes an extremely long time to get dressed, and if she's not happy with the look, she'll ask me to wait and wear another dress and do the makeup again. So we are always late to events. Today I had to go to my best friend's home for his wedding anniversary, and I told her to get ready on time. I even reminded her like 4 hours prior and got her a salon appointment. As usual, she was running us late. My friend and his wife were stalling the celebration just for me. I got mad at my wife and told her to find a way to my friend's place herself and that I was leaving without her. She requested for me to wait for her, but I just left without her. She didn't come at all and called me saying she doesn't want to come on her own because she doesn't want all the attention to be on her due to her being late. I told her to do as she pleases and that she needs to be punctual if she wants to come somewhere with me. She started crying and cut the call. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole? I refuse to put my brother up for adoption. My wife and I have been married for 2 years. My wife is currently 4 months pregnant. My parents died in a car crash about a month ago, and my brother, who is 14, has nobody to turn to except me. We have no other living relatives. I decided to take in my brother until he's an adult, but my wife feels like it's not our responsibility to care for my brother, and since she's pregnant, she wants me to focus only on our child. I told her that my brother has nowhere to go, and hence, he'll be staying with us at least until he's an adult. She is mad at me and is refusing to talk to me unless I put my brother up for adoption. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for kicking out my girlfriend? So I have a cat named Raven who's 3 years old. My girlfriend of 2 years moved in with me a few weeks ago, and it was clear that she didn't like my cat. I didn't think it was really a big deal until one day I got home and he was just gone. He's not an outdoor cat and he never goes outside. He was gone for hours, and I was worried sick until my buddy came to my house and returned him, saying he found him 2 blocks from my house. I asked my girlfriend how my cat, who has never tried to go out before, ended up that far from my house, and she admitted to kicking him out. I was furious, saying she had no right to kick him out, and told her that I wanted her out of my house by the end of the month. She cried that she had nowhere to go and that she would have to live out on the streets, and I said I didn't care and told her to leave by the end of the month. My friends think that I'm being too harsh, but my cat could have died because of her, and I don't want her trying anything else. Am I the asshole?
This is how I found out my dad was following me on OnlyFans. Disclaimer, it's not my story time, it's not on Instagram. My mom and dad had me when they were really young. My mom was 17 and my dad was 19. For some reason, my mom doesn't like talking about him, so I never really found out exactly how they broke up. All I know is that they stayed together until I was 5 years old. Something really bad happened and then my mom kicked him out of the house. Like I said, I don't even know what happened. When I was 12 years old, he begged my mom to come back, and she let him live in the apartment we had. But he's pretty much a deadbeat. He didn't help my mom pay for the bills. He didn't even want to get a job. He even went as far as begging my mom to become a stripper. He said that she would make way more money than the job she had. She was a secretary at the time. When I was 15, he left our house again. I never got a bad feeling from him when he was living with us though. With a lot of hard work, my mom was able to put me through college. I graduated and I got a really good job. I bought my mom and me a house and we moved in together. Then COVID happened and I lost my job. Friends suggested I start OnlyFans and I decided to do it. I started making a lot more money than I ever thought I would. Some months I was making around $20,000. This one guy would send me $1,000 every single week. In exchange for pictures. Part 2 is up. This is how I found out my dad was following me on OnlyFans. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it's on Instagram. So this one guy started sending me $1,000 every single week. In exchange, I would send him private photos. Everything was totally fine until he started asking me questions. He would ask me things like, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite dessert? Because it's OnlyFans, I never really answered honestly. But then one day he told me, you love The Little Mermaid, don't you? And I was like, what? Because The Little Mermaid was my favorite movie as a kid. Watched it at least 3 times a week when I was a kid. First I thought it was a cousin playing a joke on me, so I decided to block them. The next day I get another message. This one says, I remember how you used to love hot dogs. That's when I really shit myself. Because my dad and I would make hot dogs every single Friday. It was our thing together. Like I said, he was a deadbeat, so he couldn't afford anything more than cheap hot dogs. And that's when he said, I have a confession. And before I could reply, he said, I'm your dad. I felt so disgusted. I blocked him and then blocked him from my cell phone too. That's when he sends me sends me a long text message explaining why he signed up to my OnlyFans. He said that he was just trying to get to know me, that all he really wanted was to get me back as his daughter. Then why ask for nudes? Part 3 is up.